Home field advantage? Dodgers. LA is up 1-0 in the NLCS. Blake Snell made postseason history. The offense did just enough, and the tone for Game 2 with Yoshinobu Yamamoto is ready to go tonight in Milwaukee.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Blake Snell delivers a postseason gem for the ages as the Dodgers grab Game 1 of the NLCS. The offense only pushed across 2 runs, but was that really a concern or just part of the story in a well-played game? And we preview Game 2. Yamamoto is back on the mound for the Dodgers with a chance to come home up 2-0. Travis, 6 down, 7 to go.
Yeah, they made it hard, right? They did all the little things wrong that I was terrified about, and yet somehow they found a way to get it done. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download that app today.
He's Travis Rodgers. I'm Harry Ruiz, 2 guys who talk sports for a living and bleed Dodger blue for life. You can get more Travis on 710 ESPN LA or the ESPN LA app from 3 to 6 p.m. Pacific with the Travis and DeMarco show. As for me, I'm the Spanish play-by-play broadcaster for the USC Football Trojans and the Las Vegas Raiders. But nothing beats jumping on the mic every weekday morning and diving deep into what I love most, talking Dodger baseball with you. And I want to give you a quick shout out. The Locked On Dodgers community has been on fire. Over the last week, we just had the 2 most watched episodes in show history, and that's all because of your support. If you're new around here, welcome aboard. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, smash that like button, and jump in the comments. I love hearing your takes. And the Locked On Dodgers listener line is available for you to drop a voicemail or a text, 279-3-LOCKED or 279-356-2533. Hit us up, and you might be featured in our show. Travis, that's July, August, September, and half of October, 3.5 months. You were, 2 weeks before I jumped on board? So 4 months for you. And, man, we love seeing the community keep growing over here in Locked On Dodgers.
It helps when they keep winning a bunch of playoff games. That's a very good recipe for success. I cannot wait to get into this one.
Absolutely, and let's do it. The Dodgers won Game 1 of the NLCS by defeating the Brewers 2-1, and there's really no other way to start this show than with the man of the night, Blake Snell. Snellzilla. What we saw on the mound, that was sheer dominance. 8 innings, just 1 hit allowed, 10 strikeouts, no walks. He retired the last 17 batters that he faced. 17! He faced the minimum and looked as calm in the 8th as he did in the first inning. Man, Travis, I had my doubts on Blake Snell because I absolutely despise having a player come directly from the Giants, but he quickly said, shut up and just enjoy.
Get over it. Get over it, Harry. Here I come. I'm about to throw one of the best playoff games you've ever seen in your entire life. I promise I'm going to be positive. I promise. But can I just start with this? Why did they take him out of that game? Is there some rule where you're not allowed to throw a complete game anymore that they didn't let me know? Because I understand his pitch count was reasonably high, but it wasn't crazy high, right? It was 103. That is a very manageable amount. And the way he was setting guys down, there was no reason to take him out because you're looking at another 10 or 15 pitches. I get it, 113, 118 or so. That's a lot, but it guarantees you as low a stress as it could possibly be. Harry, they had not barreled a ball against him in nearly 3 hours. He was just setting them down one after the next. There was nothing close. And I will steal from my friend Oral Hershiser. Every time that bullpen gate opens, you're never quite sure what you're going to get. And that goes for every team right across the major leagues. You know what Snell's on that night. He is on the ultimate heater. And I know that he's going to have to pitch again in this series. And I know that if they're lucky enough to win, that he's going to have to pitch in the World Series. But this is the playoffs. This is why you baby these guys. Or let me rephrase. This is why you're cautious with these guys all season long. So when you need to lean on him, you can. And I wanted them to lean on Blake Snell because he was that good. Those are the only circumstances where I think you're going to get a potential complete game where through 8 innings, it's about at 100. Let's go for it. So he was brilliant. If they get anything approaching that kind of pitching performance, the Dodgers are in great shape. And he absolutely did exactly what they needed him to do. Set the tone. Let those bats kind of find their way because those were still pretty quiet along the way, but a masterpiece from Blake Snell.
So Blake Snell was on the IL for a big chunk of the season with left shoulder inflammation. The most pitches he has ever thrown in a postseason game, 105. And you got to go all the way back to 2020 when he was with the Tampa Bay Rays, game 1 of the ALCS, 105. But this season, you can go back to last month, a month ago, September 10th. Dodgers, Rockies, 104 pitches. So almost that number. Then against the Phillies, September 17th, 112 pitches. If he was able to do it a month ago, why not this month? I'll look at it from Dave Roberts' eyes. We want him to be available to pitch in game 5, and you don't want to risk him at this point. And that's the only, I'm putting out the reasoning of why I'm not agreeing with it. I would have loved having Blake Snell out there, but, and it almost ended up costing them the game because, Travis, when Roki Sasaki went out there, what was your level of confidence?
It was decent because he's been so good in his relief works. It's coming back from the minor leagues, but it was not the same level of confidence I had with Blake Snell. My level with Blake Snell was as close to, okay, this thing is over as it can be. It's never over, but with him dealing like that, it felt like it was darn near over. With Sasaki, it's, hey, I hope he's still sharp. Hey, the last time we saw him, he pitched 3 innings. Hey, everybody has a hiccup now and again, and he hasn't really had one yet. So those were my feelings with Sasaki. And then with Trinan, I mean, okay, I mean, it worked out, but I don't even, we'll get into it coming up in just a little bit. But just one last thought on Snell for me. That this idea that there's some outer limits of where you can go. Look, no one has been more cautious about how to use pitchers than major league teams over, call it, the last 10 or 12 years, where we've really kind of dove into the pitch counts and, we're going to keep them under here. And I understand that is probably the right thing to do. We also have never had as many arm injuries as we have had in the last 10 or 15 years. So it doesn't work. This idea that you're going to be able to, well, we'll just use them in this many pitches. Okay, if no one ever got an arm surgery, then I would be like, hey, look, this is the right thing to do. This protects the asset, but they still get hurt anyway. So if they're dropping anyway, let's go ahead and try to take advantage of guys when they're on a heater like the way that Snell was. Because look, the Dodgers won the game. We'll take it. They probably should have won the game more comfortably than they did. I know we're going to get into that coming up in just a little bit. But that was a high-stress situation that could have been less stressful had Snell stayed in.
100%. And look, statistically, that outing was historic. Snell became the first pitcher in MLB postseason history to throw 8+ innings, allow no more than 1 hit, walk 0, and strike out 10 or more. The first, Travis, when you're the first of anything at this stage of the game in Major League Baseball, that's pretty impressive.
Well, you had the first of that, and that's the first time I've ever seen that ball off the center fielder's glove double play at home.
I know.
So there were a couple of firsts last night. It was a night of firsts in Milwaukee.
And here you go, another one. He's also the first MLB pitcher since Don Larson's 1956 perfect game to face the minimum through 8 innings in a postseason game. Think about that. Nearly 70 years. The list he joined is short and legendary. Don Larson, 56. Bill James, 1914. Chief Bender, 1910. And now Blake Snell, 2025.
Chief Bender had a good stuff that night. Never forget.
I know. Have you seen those highlights?
It was a great night for the big Chief there. No, look, I don't even want to say that's as good as you can ask for. That's literally as good as it gets. You're not going to get that again. No one can ever expect to get you. When you get one like that, you just say, thumbs up, thank you so much, and move on to the next one. But the part that was so scary is they got, like you just said, a historically great pitching performance, and they had to sweat it out to the final pitch. And if not for a couple of very weird decisions by Terang, I don't know if you and I are in a great mood this morning.
Yeah, he got out of a way from a pitch that would have hit him and that would have walked in or got in the tying run
Yeah.
in the ninth inning. It was undoubtedly interesting. Roki Sasaki, I'll be honest, when he came in, I was I was confident that the Dodgers would win, but then a couple of pitches later, he gets a walk, 2 walks, 1 hit, and when he left the game was already 2-1. The game tying run was at third. The go-ahead run was at first. And here's the deal. Do you prefer Roki Sasaki going in there with somebody already on base or with the bases empty and him having to get 3 innings? Because that's pretty much the situation. You would have thrown Blake Snell out there, and once he got a base runner on, you would have taken him out because he was already over 100 pitches. And we already saw that with Yoshinobu Yamamoto, his no-hitter in Baltimore, where it was like cruise control until the ninth, 2 outs, home run, took him out, and then the bullpen blew it. Right here, I felt it would have been something similar.
Yeah, I didn't mind them start. If you're going to make the change, I would rather you make the change with the bases clean and without it, because it was a 1-run game or 2-run game. Excuse me. It was a 2-run game, so it's still a base hit and a swing away from being a tie ball game. So I didn't have a huge problem with the decision. I didn't like the decision, but at least if the decision's going to be made, I like bringing him in with nobody on base. Kind of going back to Yoshi really quickly. With Roki. Again, this is a little bit of revisionist history because of what happened, and you're kind of trying to inform what you saw. He didn't feel like he had that shoulders back, Roki, here I come, I'm here to mess stuff up, and I'm just going to blow guys away kind of energy that he had before. This was more of the cautious. This was a little bit more of the trying to nibble at the zone as opposed to just attack. And you could see when he started getting in trouble, that body language that was so great for Roki at Dodger Stadium against the Phillies, that was so great for him at the bank against the Phillies on the road, this was the Yoshi that we saw earlier in the season. Like, he wasn't quite sure what the heck was going on. He felt a little bit more emotional. So hopefully it was just a bad night. Hopefully he gets back on it the way that he was in the DS, because they're going to need that version of Roki, not the one they had last night.
Yeah, and 22 pitches to face 5 batters.
Wasn't great.
2 outs. It wasn't good. He had, between the first game against Cincinnati and the first 2 against the Phillies, he had 24 pitches to get out 8 batters. Just to put it into perspective. But
look, it could have just been a bad day. That
hopefully
happened. Yeah.
We needed to have been a bad day, and that's it. Because Travis, if it starts going downhill from there, we're already in trouble with the bullpen. If it starts going downhill from there for Roki, we're in deep, you know what.
Yep.
And, well, I got to close positively. Treinen, okay, at least he got that out, and we're celebrating a win right now. We're up 1-0. Roki, like we said, hopefully it's just a blimp, and we're going to be back in business when he comes back. But Blake Snell, man, tell me if this doesn't say ace, Travis. 3 runs allowed in his last 40 innings pitched.
Crazy. Just crazy. He's look, this is why they gave him $100 million, right? This is why they gave him that deal, is to go out there and pitch like this in big games like this. And he delivered on that deal. As far as Treinen goes, here I'll give you a positive and I'll give you a not so positive. The positive is his ball was moving. Like, he had that crazy Blake Treinen lateral movement on his pitches, which is very exciting to see. His velocity was pretty good. It was in the mid to high 90s, so that's encouraging. The downside is they got lucky. The downside is if Turang stands there, that ball hits him, and it's a tie game, and who knows what happens after that. If Turang doesn't chase a ball that's up by his neck, then it's ball 3, and who knows what happens after that. So Turang bailed him out, but I'm going to end on the high side, which is Treinen's pitches were moving like Blake Treinen pitches, and they really had not been until last night. So I will take the movement, even if the result was a little bit of a lucky one.
Sometimes you got to take the good with the bad, and that also comes up with a player that we're going to be talking about soon. But the important thing is the Dodgers needed this kind of tone setter, especially on the road. Taking game 1 means they've already stolen home field advantage, and the momentum feels heavy on the Los Angeles side. Now, some people might say, yeah, but we only scored twice. And that's fair because it's true. But the Bats did what they needed to do, and that's exactly what we'll talk about coming up on Locked On Dodgers. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally, feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. After I joined Monarch Money, I was shocked to see how many subscriptions I had, and also, all that takeout, it definitely stacked up. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com on your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONMLB. Thank you for making us your first listen wherever you may be tuning in, either on your favorite podcast app or our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. It's free. Smash that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Full episodes, hot takes, breaking Dodgers news, and the Dodgers Postcast Show with Pete Fox live after the final out of every game. If it drops, you're on it. That's how you become an everydayer here on Locked On Dodgers. We got a lot of new viewers, a lot of new listeners, but shout out to our day one guys like Craig, like ADK. I see you guys in the comments every day during the premiere. Thank you so much for your support. We love it. All right. It's of course Tony from Los Feliz. I see the voicemails. I see the texts. We've been super busy with the show, but we're gonna get to one of your calls very soon. All right, let's talk about the bats, because while Snell stole the headline, stole the show, there's still a conversation here. The Dodgers only put up 2 runs in game 1. So is that a red flag? Not necessarily. First off, the Brewers played phenomenal defense, including an 8-6-2 double play, first time ever in postseason history, which we had literally never seen before in this stage of the game. That was absurd. It saved them a run and maybe changed the tempo of the game very early in the 4th inning. So before we go into the numbers of how the Dodgers bats actually had a pretty decent night getting players on base, Travis, that play was crazy. Bases loaded, 1 out, Max Muncy up at the plate. Me just watching the game, I didn't notice that the ball hit the wall. I thought that the center fielder had it in his glove, it went out, and then he just caught it again, and it was an out. So when the ball was thrown to the shortstop and then from the shortstop to home, I thought it wasn't a force play. It was just Teoscar needing to avoid the tag. I thought they had scored, and then out of nowhere, the catcher goes to third, and it's a double play. I'm like, what the hell just happened? So you being a former baseball player, you know the rule. The moment that the ball touches the glove, Teoscar could have head over home. But another blunder for Teoscar were what I said. We take the good with the bad, and that's another part. Is it just his fault? Is Dino Ebo supposed to be involved in there? What's going on?
Both of them. So look, I'm not going to, first of all, I think it took a lot more than 1 run off the board. I think it took at least 2. First of all, the play by the center fielder to keep the ball in the ballpark was a fantastic play. So credit to him for doing what he does. But this is one of those times where the base runner had a huge foul up. By the way, Will Smith fouled up pretty big too by not being standing on third base by the time all that had ended up. We'll get to that in a second. But number 2, Dino Ebel got deked. Right. And I don't know. I look, Dino Ebel is one of those guys that's been around baseball for a billion years. There's nothing he hasn't seen. There's not a rule he doesn't know. I'm going to guess that he was probably giving some pretty good advice, because here's the deal. The umpires called it exactly right in real time. The left field umpire called that ball correctly off the wall. It's a live ball, but it doesn't matter as far as Teoscar is concerned. The second the ball hit the center fielder's glove, the very second it hit leather, you're gone, because either he catches it and you tag up and you can basically walk in on a ball that's that deep, or it's a live ball and you don't have to go back and re-tag. He tagged, went about 10 feet down the line, went back again to re-tag for reasons that I still don't quite understand, and then got thrown out by the skin of his teeth. So Teoscar really fouled up there in a significant way. And again, we talked about this. The everydayers will know this. I talked about this yesterday. When you're playing a team like Milwaukee, if you give them an extra out, if you walk into an out, much less two of them on one play, they're going to find a way to use that to their advantage. They're really good at using extra outs and your mistakes against you. Will Smith has to be standing on third base right there. There's, we've seen it before, like where there's a rundown, right? And the trail runner will just get as far as he can and he's standing there. They're getting an out one way or the other, but at least they're not getting two. And Will Smith got messed up as well. And he's standing over there on second base trying to figure out what the heck happened. And then the catcher just walks down. Contreras just walks down and steps on third base for the double play. The umpires got it exactly right. The Brewers got it exactly right. The Dodgers are the ones that messed it up three different ways. They messed it up at third base, they messed it up in the third base coaching box, and they messed it up at second base. And Muncy powdered that ball. It was one of those times where it felt like the game's about to break open. The Dodgers are going to get that lead. Snell's dealing, and instead it gave a massive lift to Milwaukee and really kind of changed the tone of the game for a while until Freddie hit that home run. And if they do that more often, and not that necessarily, but if you give them an extra out, if you do something that's boneheaded, they will find a way to use that to win the game. The Dodgers escaped by the skin of their teeth last night, despite making two really big errors on the bases.
Yeah, Will Smith actually went back to second base and was pointing to Tommy Edman to go back to first base. It's like, go back to first. It's like, dude, didn't you just see what happened? But at the same time, there was confusion all over the place. And that just killed the Dodgers' opportunity. And then in the next inning, they had first and second, one out, and Mookie Betts grounds into a double play. I'll be honest, at that moment, I was like,
didn't feel good.
I'm like,
feel good.
Like, we're the baseball gods are playing against us. But then at the end of the day, Freddie hits the home run. We got a 1-0 lead. It felt better because, man, you look at that. Bases loaded in the fourth. You got first and second, one out in the fifth. You were getting traffic on the bases against the Brewers team that threw out a bullpen game in game one of the NLCS. Why? Because they needed 5 games to get through the NLDS. The Dodgers, they got 4, and they were able to reset their rotation. They were able to reset their bullpen. They were in a way better spot, in my opinion. But like I said, even with that, the Dodgers still managed to have 7 hits and draw 8 walks. If you tell me before the game, Travis, we're going to have 15 base runners, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, no, I thought that they didn't score a bunch of runs, but I thought that their offense was actually pretty good. Like you said, they drew a bunch of walks, a couple of them intentionals, but that's all right. You're still getting on base in that situation. Muncy had that ball to center field, like easily could have been a double to score 2 or 3 runs. Freddie got robbed of a double earlier in the game. Freddie hit the ball hard 3 times in that game. Kike had a double in the game. You're starting to see, Ohtani, I thought, showed a little more discipline at the plate last night than he had in the previous series. So I do think you're starting to see them swing the bats the way that they're supposed to. They didn't have a bunch of extra base hits last night, but they did hit the ball hard. But Will Smith hit the ball hard a couple of times as well. So I'm generally pretty pleased with what they did offensively. And again, it's the postseason, Harry. Dodger fans know this. You're not going to go out there and have 14 hits with 4 home runs and 3 doubles against postseason pitching staffs. You're not getting to the garbage. I shouldn't say garbage pitchers. You're not getting to the lower leverage pitchers in series like this. You face aces and high leverage relief pitchers, and that's it. So you're not going to tack on 7, 8, 9 runs the way they do during the regular season. It's just a different way to play baseball. But they're seeing good pitches. They're taking their walks, and when they do get good pitches, they're hitting them hard. I was pretty pleased with how they played offensively.
Yeah, the approach was patient. It was disciplined. They were seeing the ball well. They just didn't cash in on every opportunity, and that's going to be the case when it comes to baseball, where there's going to be games where you're going to be able to put 10 runs on the scoreboard like you did against the Reds. There's going to be games like tonight, like last night, where they got 2 runs, and that was it for them. And look, the Brewers, they mixed and matched because it was a bullpen game. Got a few favorable matchups, and they escaped by only allowing 2 runs. So let's see what goes down now with the Dodgers, because relying that heavy on the bullpen by your opponent, I feel it's going to catch up eventually for the Brewers, which they didn't use Mizrowski because he had just pitched 3 innings on Game 5 of the NLDS, so he's going to be coming up soon. We know that Freddie Peralta's coming up tonight as well. So, but look, when you draw 8 walks, get 7 hits, the runs are going to be coming eventually. It's just a matter of time. So no, I'm not worried at all about the Dodgers offense. If anything, this was one of those games that builds pressure, and sooner rather than later, that pressure is going to burst.
The 2 things that the Dodgers struggled with this season are the 2 things they struggled with last night. And fortunately, it didn't cost them a game. They struggled with base running and they struggled with bullpen. And those are the 2 things that all season long, it's like, man, the Dodgers are running the bases like they've never played before. They did it again last night. And their bullpen, we've talked ad nauseum about the struggles of that pen. And it wasn't very good last night. And yet they still found a way to win the game. So generally speaking, a pretty good night. But again, extra outs and shaky bullpens is a very scary way to play against a team like Milwaukee.
Now it's time to look ahead to tonight's Game 2. Yoshinobu Yamamoto's back on the mound. The Dodgers are 1 win away from heading home with all the momentum. And next on Locked On Dodgers, I'll tell you why I think Yamamoto's got redemption written all over this one.
The NFL season is here, so is the postseason baseball, right? And FanDuel has an offer that you are not going to want to miss, because right now, if you're a new customer at FanDuel, you can bet just $5 and you're going to get $300 in bonus bets if that first bet hits. That's right. You pick a bet, you put down $5, and if you win that bet, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And basically, FanDuel has whatever it is you like. Like, let's say you like parlays. Well, FanDuel's got parlays. Let's say, hey, you know what? I really like to bet on player props. That's great news, because FanDuel has player props. And you're like, I like to watch the game a little bit and then get in with some of these live lines after I figure out what's going on. Great. FanDuel has live lines during the game. So it makes watching football and baseball and basketball and everything else you can think of even more exciting when you've got a little bit of something riding on that action. So whether you are a casual fan or you love going deep, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So let me ask you, what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started.
Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers, not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers on X and Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. Game 2 tonight in Milwaukee, and it's Yoshinobu Yamamoto's turn. We've seen 2 different versions of him this postseason. One start where he was absolutely locked on, sharp, efficient, everything working against the Reds. Another where he struggled a bit with command versus the Phillies. But overall, when you look at his 2024 playoff performance and his 2025 regular season, there's every reason to believe that he'll rise at the moment tonight.
Yoshinobu Yamamoto is a dog. He is. He's just what, like, he didn't pitch well against the, and by the way, he didn't pitch that bad against the Phillies. He just didn't pitch the way that he typically pitches, which is, the best pitcher or one of the best pitchers in the National League. On the occasions where he would deliver a performance that was slightly below a Yamamoto expectation, he almost always bounces back and says, oh yeah, well, watch this. That dude is wildly competitive. He is a fierce competitor. I think he's going to go out there and be terrific tonight. I think he's going to go out there and pitch deep into that game the same way that Blake Snell did. I don't think he's going to be perfect through 8 innings the way that Blake Snell was, or I should say face the minimum the way that Blake Snell did. But I love that Yamamoto's going tonight. And quite frankly, considering that the Dodgers were able to advance out of the last series, I don't even hate the fact that he didn't have his best game against the Phillies. I think that will refocus him, remotivate him. And even though he's, kind of stoic, he's pretty, tough to read what's going on emotionally. He's not a particularly demonstrative athlete. That dude goes after it. I keep going back to the way that he pitched in the DS in Game 5 against the Padres last year, where it's like, hey man, this guy has not really been what we thought he's going to be. Dog. He shows up in the World Series. It's like, hey, he's really our only starting pitcher along with Jack Flaherty. Dog. And he goes out there and just deals. I expect him to do it again tonight.
18 quality starts in the 2025 regular season. Only 4 pitchers in the National League had more quality starts than Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who was the only starting pitcher in the Dodgers rotation that went pretty much every single turn that he had. Everybody else, Shohei Ohtani got there late when it comes to pitching. Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, they were in the injured list. Clayton Kershaw got there a little bit late. Same thing with Emmett Sheehan after recovering from injuries. So he is the guy for the Dodgers that has given them the most length. And the quality start part, last time we saw him out there, 4 innings against the Phillies, 3 runs, and Dave Roberts felt the necessity before he even got to 70 pitches to just yank him and let the bullpen go in there. And that was the game where Kershaw got absolutely rocked between the 7th and 8th innings. So it's a game where it's like we try to forget, but Yoshi was the one that actually started the game. And here's the thing. He has also shown the ability to make quick adjustments. That's what separates him, the intelligence, the poise, the mid-game evolution. And after watching what Snell did in game 1, I have to imagine Yamamoto wants to answer the call in his own way. I'm not expecting him to replicate Snell's brilliance. That was historic. But if he can give the Dodgers 7 or 8 strong innings, limit the damage, and keep the Brewers lineup guessing, the Dodgers will be in a great spot.
And look, I think you hit something that's really important. I do think there's an element of, oh, yeah, well, I can do that too, right? That these guys have started to feed on each other, that Ohtani and Yamamoto and Snell and Glasnow are like, no, I'm one of those guys too. I can do it too. I can go out there and put my team in a position to win. And, look, Yamamoto is going to be terrific tonight. I would be really surprised if he wasn't, because this is what he does. This is what he lives for. And unlike, and I don't mean to pick on Roki in this situation, but this is a guy that has been a professional pitcher for a long time. This is not the first time he's been through this. And I'm not even talking about last year with the Dodgers, which obviously put a lot of seasoning on him. He was a finished product when he got here from Japan. He had pitched in the Japanese league for a long time and been incredibly successful over there. He knows pressure. He knows expectations. He knows how to bounce back from a tough night. Sasaki is still trying to figure that out. Like, okay, he's probably still thinking in his mind, every day I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to mow guys down because that's what I've always done. And knowing that, in the big leagues, you're going to kind of ride the wave a little bit. Yamamoto knows that. He's going to bounce back and he's going to be great tonight.
Yeah, let's remember, Roki Sasaki signed a minor league deal with the Dodgers because he was under 25, so he didn't have the same experience as Yamamoto, who won the equivalent of the Cy Young multiple times out there in Japan and threw no-hitters like crazy. He was the guy. He was a finished product when the Dodgers gave him a 9-figure deal. What was it, $325 million for 10 years? It's like, okay, that's completely different to what Sasaki signed, but look, when players want to join winning teams, they're going to join a team like the Dodgers, especially for what they're doing right now. And Yoshinobu Yamamoto is one of them. Roki Sasaki is another one of them. Guess what? Blake Snell is one of them. Tyler Glasnow is another one. And here's the thing. Glasnow, when was the last time he had pitched as a starter? The series in Seattle. You think that when he went out there for game 4 in the NLDS, he wasn't with a state of mind where it's like, hey, they haven't used me. Let me remember them, who I am and what I can do. And I feel that Yoshi's like, man, I had been putting this rotation on my back all year long, and now the shine is off of me because Blake Snell stole it. Now let me do it. Hopefully he does it tonight. And look, let's not forget what's at stake. If the Dodgers win tonight, both lower seeds in the championship series, the Dodgers in the NLCS and the Mariners in the ALCS, would go home up 2-0. That's massive. And you know what? I don't care who we play in the World Series. When we make it to the World Series, we'll beat either of them. But I'd rather it be Seattle because the travel would be way easier than going all the way to Toronto. So Seattle, keep doing your thing, and we would have home field advantage against the Mariners.
Well, I'll put this out there. You know my deal, Harry. I don't talk about the next round until we're out of the next round or out of this one. So here's the good news. The Dodgers are 6-1 in the playoffs. And I don't think they've played very well yet. Now, they've pitched lights out. They've been absolutely amazing on the mound, but the rest of it has been somewhere between okay to just below average. If they can get the offense going the way that I expect it to get going, they're 6-1 in the postseason, and they haven't hit their stride. That's a really good place to be in.
The moment it clicks, game over for all the baseball and all the crybabies. Go ahead, wipe your tears, buy some Kleenex, get some tissue paper because you're going to need it. The tone is set, the rotation is dealing, the bats are patient, and if Yamamoto delivers, this series could tilt hard in LA's favor before it even reaches Dodger Stadium. All right, that'll do it for today's episode of Locked On Dodgers. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and check us out on YouTube for post-game breakdowns and reaction. If you're still craving more baseball talk, have the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night be your second listen. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find it on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday, to dive deep into Game 2 of the NLCS. Milwaukee is going with their ace, Freddie Peralta. Will the boys in blue be able to get to him, Travis?
I hope so. One game at a time, one pitch at a time, one base running decision at a time. Let's do all the little things right.
And don't walk people. Travis loved the first 8 innings of yesterday's game. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real, keep it Dodger Blue.